watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to talk about the Pac-6, because there's 6 of them now. That's right. Oregon State and Washington State added Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State, and Fresno State. Hell of a lot of states. Anyway, I'm happy for them. And, you know, look, a lot of people speculated they may go to the Big 12. They may go to the ACC. But I think most of us knew that was never going to happen. I wasn't buying into it. There's some people online, especially on X, that were advocating for that or said they had inside knowledge of that. Maybe they did, but inside knowledge isn't always correct knowledge. So whether that's MHVR3 or Greg Swaim or whoever, and I got no problem with them reporting what they hear, what they think they know. That's fine. They can be wrong just like me and everybody else. I don't report stuff, but I do get stuff wrong. However, right now they're at 6. They need to get to 8. All right, they need to get to 8 to be a relevant conference. They're going to get there. This is the first wave. That's what everyone says. It's the first wave of Pac-12 expansion. Now, some people say they may stop at 8, maybe 10. You know, they don't want to dilute whatever future media deal. Bullshit. They're going to go to 12. Why? Because there's money in 12. That's right. You add the right teams. Now, look, this is why they're rebuilding the Pac this way. They could have just did a merger with the Mountain West, but the Mountain West has a lot of schools that, frankly, don't add up. Okay? Hawaii, nothing against the Rainbow Warriors at all. Beautiful state, but it's way the hell out there. Way the hell out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They don't exactly get great ratings. It's just, it is what it is. And there's other teams within the Mountain West that just aren't going to make the cut. At least not to what Oregon State and Washington State are trying to do. So, I'm going to dedicate this video onto what I believe they could possibly add within the next year or further out. So, let's get going with that. So, who's joining Washington State and Oregon State? Well, been a lot of talk about Cal and Stanford. Oh, Calford. Now, I do think this is a very, very, very real possibility. Once the ACC starts to fade away, they lose teams. That's going to happen. We all know it. More than likely in the year of our Lord 2027, especially if ESPN doesn't opt into that bitch. Keep in mind, California and Stanford, they're only making about $10 million a piece in the ACC. The only reason they went to the ACC is because of the academic excellence, and they wanted to be associated with that. But you got to get paid something, a little something. So if that thing falls apart and it looks like they're not going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of what Washington State or Oregon State, because I think the ACC can rebuild as well. I think once they lose their teams, they will rebuild. And no, they won't be an autonomous conference. They won't be a power conference anymore once that happens. All right, they're going to get totally Pac-12, but they're going to start probably with 4 teams. Probably Wake Forest, Syracuse, Boston College, maybe Georgia Tech, maybe even Pitt. All right, I'm just saying. I don't see Pitt as this automatic ad for the Big 12 or anyone else. So, let's just say they start out with whatever 4 teams in the ACC. They will rebuild that thing back up. So, if you're Cal or Stanford, do you want to be a part of that, making far less than you thought you were eventually going to make in the ACC? Probably not. It would behoove them to move right back over here with good old Washington State and Oregon State. It just would. It saves on travel. So I think that's a future ad down the road, 2027, maybe later. Now, the word around the campfire is Memphis and Tulane, they are heavily being looked at by this new Pac-6. They want to add them. If I'm Memphis, if I'm Tulane, I don't do it. I wait for the ACC to fall apart. Because look, they're making decent money in the American. I mean, it's not the SEC, I know. But it's decent money for G5 on the G5 level. Decent money. So why are you going to go over to a West Coast conference, have to have all this ridiculous travel for a little more money? You know, a little bit more. I'm going to say, they say, nah, you know, we appreciate it, but we're going to wait for this ACC thing to fall apart. And once they do, they're going to be two top targets for that new ACC. And if they can make around the same, anywhere around the same as this new pack, then that's a beautiful win for Memphis and Tulane. So I would hold off if I'm them too. Now, I think a lot of people will say they're going to dip back into the Mountain West. The only problem with that is Wazoo and Oregon State, they got to pay around $12 million per to the Mountain West schools to add more schools. So they've already spent, what is that, $48 million, right around $50 million to bring in the 4 they did. So I still think they may go ahead and do that. As a matter of fact, I think UNLV and I think San Jose State are insanely great ads. Okay. San Jose gets you into the Bay Area. All right. You're already in kind of the middle of California with Fresno State and the Valley. And then San Diego State, of course, gets you into San Diego, Southern California. So you got the 3 levels of California covered. That's good for the conference. Now, there is Utah State and there, of course, Wyoming. Neither one of those offer you a really a substantial market. Utah State would be more of a nostalgia thing, get you back into Utah. But it's not the Utes. It's not BYU, you know. And is it really worth the $12 million? Wyoming, are they really worth the $12 million to bring them in? I'm going to say probably not, but we're going to put them on the back burner for now. All right. Just in case you got to. But I think I know their very first ads are not going to be more Mountain West ads. Although I think UNLV is very, very smart move for them. San Jose State's very smart. You know, Vegas with UNLV, obviously. You got it. I think you have to do it. But there's other moves out there that I think are going to trump the Mountain West stuff for now. Now, this is the big speculation right now. The UTSA Roadrunners and the North Texas Mean Green right there in Denton, Texas, DFW area. And of course, UTSA, San Antonio. In the Texas Triangle, just the biggest growth area in the country. We're talking Austin to Houston to DFW. Insanity, the amount of people moving in. UTA's growing like a weed. And North Texas has got a huge campus. And they are also growing like a weed. I think those two are going to be the next 2 ads to get you to 8. To at least get to 8. Why is that? Because you don't have to pay some stupid, Mountain West tax. Essentially, that's what Washington State and Oregon State signed up for with the scheduling agreement with them. So you don't have to pay that. Essentially, this is free to add. All right, now, if you look at other schools like Houston, like UCF, like Cincinnati that left the American, it cost them $10 million each to move. North Texas and UTSA, I think they'll be able to afford $10 million, especially since the Mountain West had to pay $17 each. Those two could pay $10 and get in there. But I think after them, when you're talking about getting to 9, 10 teams, UNLV and San Jose State make all of the freaking sense in the world. And really, I think there's a better than good chance they kind of, once they add those four, they get to 10 teams, they may stop and then see what goes on with Stanford and Cal. However, I would advise them not to. Don't stop there. Let's go ahead and get to 12. Don't wait on Stanford and Cal. They may very well do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call it now. They'll get to 10 and they'll stop. And they'll wait for Stanford and Cal, see what happens, see if they can get them back into the fold. But I think the smart move would go north of that. So can we find two other teams? There has been some talk about South Dakota State and North Dakota State, getting them to come up to the FBS level. They have been completely dominant, the Jackrabbits and the Bison, in the FCS. And it's kind of past time for them to come up to another level. Do they want to go to the MAC? Maybe not. Well, would they come up for a Pac-12 invite? They probably would. Would the Pac-12 want to do that? I mean, these are great programs. These are fantastic. And I think with an investment from the Pac-12, they could compete on a very high level. Well, a G5 level. They can get to that level. I have no doubt those two can get to an Oregon State or a Washington State level probably within 10 years. Probably within 10 years. I don't have a doubt in my mind they can do that. However, what's the benefit? What's the market? There's not a lot of people in North Dakota or South Dakota. It's better than Wyoming. Okay? It's better than Wyoming. But there's not much of a market. All right? This is why people have thought they would maybe go to the MAC. Because the MAC's the MAC. Yeah. Conference USA. It may be a little too rich, because I think this new pack could be a very fun league. I think it could be a profitable league, but you have to be careful on who you add. I like the idea of the Jackrabbits and the Bison coming in. I just don't think it's realistic at all. So we're going to go ahead and take those off the board. Well, here's two more ads. They can get you to 12 teams, but do you want 4 schools from Texas? You know what? I might be willing to do that. You're talking about West Coast. Texas is where the West begins and it ends in Corvallis. It ends in Washington State. Or Corvallis. Sorry, I misspoke there. But Texas State, they are coming up. They are fast risers. I could easily see them one day getting into the American, if the American gets gutted by the ACC. I can see Rice also. Well, Rice is already part of the American. So, but would you add 2 more? Look, Texas State is very intriguing. It's very intriguing. Like I said, well within that triangle. Rice is in Houston. It's a small private school, but very, very prestigious. So if you're thinking about possibly adding Stanford and Cal one day, maybe that helps entice them. Maybe that helps, throw out some breadcrumbs for them. That's about the only real reason to add Rice. I'm just going to be straight up. So, but do you add them, for Stanford and Cal to feel better about being in this conference? I don't know. I don't know if one team makes them feel better, is what I'm trying to say. So, it's break in case of emergency for Rice. Matter of fact, I'm going to put you over here, but I'm going to make you very small. We're going to make you very small, just in case. All right. I don't want to completely disrespect Rice, but that's where I'm going to put him. Well, if not Rice, how about Tulsa? Well, Tulsa, it's an American team. It's an AAC team. Not a ton of success. The market is definitely better than Wyoming or North Dakota State or South Dakota State. Tulsa's not overtly gigantic or anything, but it's a decent sized town. Oklahoma also is growing in its population. Not nearly as fast as Texas or Florida, states like that, but it's still an emerging market, just on a very lower level. Um, I could see how maybe Tulsa, but I just wanted to throw them in there because they're at least in the area code of what we're talking about. But I don't know. I think I might even rather have Rice than Tulsa, to tell you the truth. So let's go ahead and ixnay Tulsa. I had an idea, but I don't think so. I think when you look at it, this is their these are their options, and I haven't ixnayed Memphis or Tulane. All right, we don't know if they're actually interested or not. People have their doubts. Guys like Greg Flugar has his doubts. I have my doubts too. I think it would be wise for them to wait for the ACC to break apart, then squeeze in there. Um, Calford, Canford. But those two, like I said, I think that's very realistic. So you're at 6. UTSA, North Texas, I think those are the next two ads. No doubt about it. That'll get you to 8. That'll cement you as a conference in the future. I think they want to get to 10. I think UNLV, I think that's a lock. They're after UTSA, after North Texas, they'll swing back around and pick up UNLV. San Jose State, out of everybody left in the Mountain West, they're in a massive market. That is what it's got to be. And look, I'm not a market guy. I've told y'all before, streaming's the future. But for this conference, market is important. And the reason why is advertising. All right, advertising is a big deal for the SEC and the Big Ten, of course. But those guys make ass tons of money on advertising anyway, just because they're the SEC and they're the Big Ten. Right now, the Pac-12 has no real name value anymore. It's a dead conference, rebuilding. So, what's the best way to rebuild? Through market, because you're not getting monster brands. You're not getting a mid-tier brand like Oklahoma State or something like that in there. That's not available. The best you could possibly do as far as brands go in the future is Stanford and is Cal. But those are more academic brands than anything. Now, I know Stanford, as far as Olympic sports, is huge. Cal's pretty good too. But as far as football and basketball, they're piss poor. Let's just be honest. They're not there. But they still have brand value, and they're still in a massive market. And you may have to ask, do you really want to add San Jose State if you have a chance of getting into the Bay Area with two bigger brands? I don't know. I'm just trying to get these guys to 8. They'll get to 8 through Texas. I think UNT, UTSA. And if those two don't work out, I really think it's Texas State that's next up. Possibly Rice. It'll be a fight between those. Like if UTSA doesn't want to go for some reason. Or UNT, they'll go. They're already halfway there. Okay? They already got... Oh, they're expecting a phone call. They got their bags packed. UTSA, they may want to hold off and see what the ACC does. But then again, do you want to hold off right now? Well, it's San Antonio. I mean, not all of those schools are that far away. Colorado State ain't that far. Just trying to make you feel better. But there's some speculation they may not want to do that. I think ultimately they probably would. It would be a step up from the American. All right, it may be a name only right now, but you still have an association with two former Power 5 schools in Oregon State and Washington State. That means something. Apparently, they already have a deal in place that would pay more than the American or the Mountain West. So there's that. now let's talk about what can they expect to make, because everyone's like, oh, somewhere around 10 million a year, which is a pretty safe bet. I saw Bob Thompson weigh in on this on X, gave a little advice, as far as like, don't just do linear, don't just do streaming, get a good mix, have a plethora of media partners available to you. It'll give, and be flexible, play any day of the week, doesn't matter. Maximize your profits, maximize your money, maximize the value you have as far as content in live sports, and the most important live sport, which is football. But what kind of money can they expect? I think with really good representation in California and in Texas, and of course Oregon State, Washington State, and what they bring good eyeballs. What can you expect out of that? I honestly am a little bit more optimistic in the future, especially in the future streaming world. I think you might be able to sniff out around 12 to 15 million per school. Adding the right schools. I think Texas schools, California schools, that upper Northwest corridor in there, Colorado State. And if you can add UNLV as well, put that into the mix. In Vegas, that's a great market. That's why I'm saying you really have to go with market, especially with, and in streaming, like I said, carriage fees and all that don't matter, but they want the potential of some eyeballs. Okay, look at TCU. TCU is a small private school. All right, they're in the Big 12. They are not the biggest school. They don't have a school like Arizona State or hell, UCF, kills them as far as alumni base and all that. I mean, destroys TCU and alumni base. Those are two massive alumni bases. But it really doesn't matter because TCU doubles or triples their viewership. I mean, they're the most watched team in the current Big 12. Not Utah, not anybody. Now, Colorado with Dion, last year was insane. I don't know what that's if it translates to this year or not. But since like 2015, outside of Texas and OU, it's been TCU with the biggest viewership. Look, like I said, it's not all about market and everything like that, but it is about market for this thing, for this Pac-12 thing, to get the best possible media rights deal and also take full advantage of any kind of corporate sponsorships, ads. All that stuff adds up. It's all revenue. And that's what it's about for this new Pac-12. Get as much revenue rolling as much as possible. You get that going, you can get your NIL going, you can get a little bit of winning going. Maybe one day you can get your automatic qualifier into the playoff, or hell, at least get in there most years because you're going to have more resources than all the other G5s. So, dude, I'm super happy for this damn conference. I really am. For all the animus and all the shit that we went through last summer, Big 12 versus Pac-12. The new Pac-12, spearheaded by Oregon State and Washington State. Everybody's good guy. All right, we all love those guys. We want them to do well. And I think it wasn't never going to be the Big 12, was never going to be the ACC, but right here, right now, the way this thing is built and can be built in the coming months, coming years, they have a great chance to be a competitive, fun conference to watch, draw some decent eyeballs, make some decent money, and play some really good competitive football, at least within the confines of that conference. And hell, you never know. I once saw Wyoming take out Texas Tech. Apparently, they take out everybody. They'll be able to play some fun style of football. And by the way, basketball, San Diego State, that's a legit basketball program. Unfortunately, it's one of the few in that conference. It's always been the case in the Pac-12, which is, if I were them, I would really strongly consider Gonzaga. All right, you need the units. That's more money. And as far as just a basketball only it's not going to be a full share of anything, that may be a smart move. I don't think it's going to be a detriment. I don't think it'll be a weight, because that's a big brand. It's a huge basketball brand to have in this new Pac-12. They should consider it. Don't be stupid like all these people talking about UConn and the Big 12. Do the right thing. It's right there for you. It's in your backyard. Was it 30 miles from the Washington State campus? Do it. Don't be, I think it's I think basketball would help them. Do it. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.